Assalamu alaikum salah. Just before we begin, if you support the Young Smirks podcast and you want to help support the channel, please go to the Patreon below and support us monthly so we can keep up with the shows. We've got lots of content coming up. We're going to have special content specifically for the Patreons, as well as a new series on Hijrah, inshallah. So please go to the Patreon below and support the podcast. Assalamu alaikum salah.
إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa ta'ala. Welcome to the Young Smirks podcast. We're here, let's talk Hijrah, and we're speaking about Egypt today. So, inshallah, we're going to get a little rundown from Brother Umar about Egypt and whether it's still a place to look at in 2022 when it comes to Hijrah. Assalamu alaikum, Umar.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, we've done a podcast regarding your time in Turkey, but you actually, I think you spent 10 years in Egypt, right?
More. Let's say 10 years.
Oh,
I'm bad with days, but I think it's more than 10 years.
You spent over 10 years in,
over 10 years,
in Egypt.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get a little bit of knowledge from you regarding Egypt, how it was your time there, and how has it changed? You know, I'm sure I've been told it's changed for the better, for the worse in different areas, and I was just wondering if it's still a good place to go for Hijrah and for what type of intention one might be looking at in terms of Egypt.
Right, okay. Egypt, let's say Cairo. Okay, let's say Cairo. Cairo is changing because of the new administrative city that's being built there. It's a big project. So you find bridges going all through different parts of the city to make it easy for people to get from Cairo to the new capital. So it's a lot of construction, a lot of bridges, a lot of different things going on. I think that it may become easier in the future because they moved the immigration from downtown Cairo to a place called Abbasiyah, right? And they started to implement like organization, because before it was just kind of like crazy. A lot of people just didn't bother with it. They just paid the fines when they leave the country. The Arabic centers are still going strong. But now you have to be licensed in order to teach. So before you can open up an apartment and just start teaching Arabic. So you had a lot of little pop-up centers in neighborhoods and things like that. So they kind of closed all that down, and what's left are like kind of official Arabic language centers. And then you've always had official tahfidh centers for Quran and stuff like that. Those are, you can pretty much get that wherever. Charities and things like that provide these different type of services for people who want to learn. Generally, the people who want to learn are there for a specific amount of time. So it's not like a Hijrah thing. It's more like I'm going to study for 2 years and then go home, right? In regard to Hijrah, you have to be creative in Egypt because there is no Hijrah visa or anything like that. So you have to, like with most immigration offices, you have to have a reason to be there. So if you bought a home, if you married a local, all these, even if they caught you without a visa, they took you to jail or something like that. If you say, okay, well, I'm married to an Egyptian, they say, okay, well, you know, you spend a little time there and then they'll send you back out.
Yeah.
Other people will be just deported.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a reason to be here. You're here illegally, right? And that's new, because prior to that, you can drive around, hit a roadblock or something, and then they look at your passport and just, let you go. They don't even look for the visa. That was back then. Even you can get stopped by the security forces and put in jail and then released back out, even without a visa. Like, they just didn't care about that. So now things have changed. If you get caught without a visa, you can't be deported. So you need a reason to be there. So as long as you maintain a reason to be in Egypt, you can stay there. So you can have your children in the schools. That's an option for people. You can start a business. That's an option for people. And it's a lot easier in Egypt than it is in other places to do this, especially if you have the right connections. Marriage is definitely an option for men and women, you know, if you really want to stay in Egypt. But Egypt is not that easy.
Yeah.
Or Cairo in particular, it's not that easy. It's kind of rough around the edges, you know. But they do have places that are more suburban, you know. But then, again, it's the difference between talib alim, like somebody trying to seek knowledge, and living. So you have to make that distinction.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's a good intention, because if somebody's going to seek knowledge, I think it's one of the top places, right, for learning Quran and Arabic and things like that.
Right.
Would you still say it's one of the top places?
Yeah, of course. I mean, one thing about Egypt is that it has a really deep history. Like, you have Amr bin As Masjid. That goes back to the time of the Sahaba, you know. So from there, you got all kind of historical places there where Islamic knowledge is being taught. So if a person wanted to dig really deep, they can go there and really benefit from being there. So it's still a destination because the teachers didn't go anywhere. They're still there, you know. And
so in terms of family, how comfortable is it? Because, you know, a lot of people coming from the West, a lot of people haven't traveled. And certainly the family and the children did not travel. So, you know, sometimes coming from the West, we need a certain level of luxury, or at least, you know, basic kind of needs. How easy is it to get something comfortable? What's the prices like in terms of living?
Okay,
living costs.
If you're talking about Cairo now, Cairo is a big city, so it'd be comparable to, I'm not sure about London, maybe, definitely New York City. It's like big, everything's built up, right? But once you move into New Cairo, you start to see that they start spreading things out a little bit. So if you're comfortable living with, like, on the 12th floor with, you know,
with no lift.
Maybe with no lift in some places, right? But if you are comfortable with that and you like that, like they call it the Shabi area, where it's like everything's going, like it's always busy, the streets are always crowded. If you like that type of thing, that's great. You know, if you consider that being comfortable, you can find it, because actually the outside is rough in these areas, but the inside is what you make it. Like, you can renovate a place, even if you're renting, because the rent sometimes is very cheap, to where you can paint it up, put a new toilet in there, put new stuff in there, and it's not going to cost you that much to do that. So you can be really comfortable. Then when you go outside, you have this area where everybody's hustling and bustling, and there's shops everywhere. You know, that's what they call the Shabi area. But if you go to,
is it cheaper in that area than?
It's cheaper.
Okay.
It's cheaper. You can still probably get something for like $100 a month or something like that. But you're really in, you know, like you in with the Egyptians really in that case, unless a group of people move there. But if you by yourself, you're in there. Like, but there's some benefits to that, because generally speaking, Egyptians are friendly. So you can will and deal. You can learn things. You can learn the language. You know, you can be comfortable and safe there. Like, nobody will bother you. But on the other hand, like if you're used to like suburban houses, villas type thing, you have to go to New Cairo. And in New Cairo, you have places like Rahab and Medinati and these places that you can find proper villas, nice ones, built like modern, you know, because you do have some villas in some of these areas, but they're like old, like 80 years old or something, or 100 years old. So it looks, you wouldn't want to really, you know. But again, these areas, they're livable, like Rahab, Medinati, Tajir Khamis, these places like that, they're livable, you know, and they have the amenities that you need, the high-speed internet and these things, you know.
Would you say that's like the middle kind of living?
You have a high-level living. Like you have, I would say Rahab is a higher level. It's not middle. It's not middle. It's
How much
high
are you
level.
talking for a month for a property?
There now, man, I think it's like, it starts at like 8,000 or something like that. 8,000 Egyptian pounds, which is like maybe $500 or something. Don't quote me on that, but it's around that figure. $500 a month. And then Rehab is kind of like the apartments. They have newer areas, but it's been around for a while now. So a lot of the apartments are like used up. So you have to kind of, and then sometimes the building is not that, construction is not that great. So you have water in the walls. I don't know if you're familiar with like the brick, the way they build. And then if a pipe leaks or something, it just goes into the wall and starts breaking up the paint at the bottom of it, you know. Yeah. So you have a lot of buildings like that in Rehab. So you have to kind of shoot for Medinity or shoot for the new capital city. You can buy there, by the way. Yeah.
Oh,
people can buy there. Yeah, and they can buy.
And what does that allow you in terms of like residency or you guaranteed like?
I would venture to say that it's guaranteed. You know, you just need to go through the proper channels to get it done, because you might deal with like the security forces. They say like, what you doing here? Yeah. Well, I own this property over here. So if you say you own a property and they say, okay, you need to get the residency or what have you, it's not this tourist stuff. Generally, that's what we get.
Well, how much you looking at for a property? How much are they to buy? Do you know?
That's a good question, bro. Like
like an
it's in the
apartment
millions of pounds. But the thing is that you can make installments. That's how they do it there. Yeah. So it's not like you got to come with the whole amount. You come with a piece of it, a portion of it, and then you would pay a monthly installment, and then every year you would pay like a lump sum, and you would do it like that until you pay off the whole property.
How safe is Egypt? Because I hear some horror stories. I'm going to be honest with you. Hearing a lot of horror stories, you know, Westerners, tourists getting ripped off, robbed.
Okay, from my experience, I would say that is very safe from my experience. And we lived in the dirtiest parts that you can think. You know, it wasn't, some areas were worse than where we lived, and that came without understanding what was going on. Like we just moved to this place because it's close to the center. But Egyptians themselves would be scared to come back to where we live, you know. But we were like, you know, we were all into our Arabic and Qurans and all this stuff. So we put like blinds on it. But I would say that it's safe. But you will have stories that people say otherwise. But generally speaking, it's safe. Yeah. But then at the same time, it would be comparable, like going to UK into a bad neighborhood and not knowing it's a bad neighborhood and then complaining if you have problems there, right? So if you want to compare it to a bad neighborhood in the UK, and that is no comparison.
How about education for kids, children?
If you're looking for, I say the best thing you can do is consult people to develop a program that fits what you want, the outcomes you want, right? Education in Egypt is business, right? So if you want high-level education, you got to pay for it, right? If you want high-level education in Egypt, you have to pay for it. If you create your own program, meaning that you bring the teachers in, because I knew brothers that did that as well. They brought Quran teachers in, Arabic teachers. That's common in Egypt for tutoring and math and all that stuff. You can just actually take a curriculum and have someone teach it, and it would be kind of like on a private basis or a group basis if you brought other families in. The education itself, though, I know brothers that send their children to Azhar. I know a brother that his children, well, his older children finished, and he was happy with the outcome, you know. So I guess it's based on what you're looking for. But if you want like a high level secular education, you're going to pay for it. Yeah. And then a lot of times what you think might be high level based on price is not really high level. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
You don't-
mediocre.
You don't get much for the.
Yeah, you don't get,
Yeah.
you would have to go to a school that the embassies send their children. Like
Yeah.
these type of schools where they have like proper teachers in there.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
expensive.
yeah, and it's expensive. I would say it's unaffordable, you know, for some people, you know, but you can find Ashar schools that are almost free, you know, but again, the quality is not going to be the same.
Yeah.
But if you really, really want to focus on education, I would suggest creating your own program.
What other points would you like to address in terms of Hijrah to Egypt? Would you still think it's a good option for families, or is it more for students of knowledge?
I think that it depends on where a person's coming from, what their standards are, what they're used to, how much they're willing to compromise, you know, because it's definitely not going to be like the same, you know. And I didn't realize that until later. Like when you start to explore, you say, wow, I didn't know, subhanAllah, I didn't know this even existed like that. Like Malaysia is one of those countries, you know, that you go in and say, subhanAllah, like I thought everything was, you know, second class. But, yeah, when you go there, you have to kind of have a lower expectation. That sounds bad. It's just the reality, you know. You can't expect much out of it in terms of Egypt is like, it's gonna sound bad, but it's the reality. It's like a house ran by a dysfunctional family, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of things go, like I can go to a shop and go sit in the guy's chair that's the, you know, it's like he's my brother or something, or my cousin, you know, and that's how they deal with one another. And it's, you like it in some ways, and then some ways you say, well, this is really unprofessional, you know. So it's all kind of how you see it. And then the police are like, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, you know, it's kind of like that, but then they can be like the bully guy, you know, so it's kind of, but you would look at a policeman, maybe, I would say in the States, a lot differently than you do.
Yeah.
Because you'll have a guy, this sounds bad again, you double parked, and I saw this, you double parked, and the police guy comes, this is the lower level guy, he comes and he says, you double parked. And the guy pull out a pound and give it to him, and he'll walk away. You know, so it's like, that would never happen in other places. And then like you'll go into a restaurant and it's loud music, like it's a party, you know. And it's just a sense of like unprofessionalism, but it's unprofessional in a sense that like your cousin's doing it. It's your cousin's shop or your brother. So that's Egypt, bro. So you got to take it, and the disorganization kind of allows you to exist there. You know, it's not nothing really official. So you have to get things done, you have to kind of go through people to be official. If you try to do it yourself, they might say, you know what, come back tomorrow. Or, you know, whatever, come back next week, and you keep coming back. I remember a brother did this for almost a year. He'd come back and they said, come back next week, come back next month, come back. That's Egypt, bro. You know what I mean? So if you're prepared to deal with something like that.
Would you say there's other options for like the same kind of cost? Would you say there's better options than Egypt now? It's not the same as it was, or would you still say it's worth looking at?
The thing about Egypt is it's easy. It can't get any easier. You know, that you show up in a place, pay $25. It's like amusement park, right? You pay the $25 and they say, you know, go ahead. You know, it can't get much easier than that. Other places, it's easy, like Malaysia's easy. But don't tell them that you want to stay for a long time, or you want to, then they start to scrutinize. Okay, what you doing? Why are you trying to, you know, they take it a lot more serious, you know. So Egypt is that place that you can show up and let in, and then you just do whatever you want to do, you know. Even if you overstay or whatever, you know that when you leave, you just pay on the way out, you know, you pay a penalty. So is there countries like that? I don't know. I can't say. I think Egypt is one of those special places. Like, you can't do that in any other place and it'd be okay, you know. So if you're looking for ease, Egypt is definitely the place. And then if you can understand the people, it makes your stay better. Like if you understand their sense of humor, like they don't like frowning people.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like a frown. I'm always in deep thought, so I'm frowning a little bit. So they don't like that. They like this happy people to joke in with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's the type of people you're dealing with. And if you're that type of person, you'll love it. But if you're that mean guy, like they don't deal with that well.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that's that, man.
Jazakallah khair. Do you have any final points you think would be helpful?
I would say that, man, this thing is an adventure, man. I have to say, like, it's something that if a lot more people embark on this journey, it makes it easy for the people to come after. You know, you have to have a sense of adventure because a lot of people don't like instability. They don't like to be unstable anywhere.
Yeah.
And I understand that later in life. As I've become older, I understand, you know, people don't like being in a place without being legal and that type of stuff. You know, so I would say that the best thing a person can do is visit these different places. And when you visit, make part of your visit understanding how you can stay there legally.
Yeah.
Right? And if you have a family, how you strategize how you can bring your family and how you don't have to worry too much about all the immigration issues. If you can get over that, then I think the rest is pretty easy.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Thanks for your insight. Assalamu alaikum.
إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء